Have you ever wondered how ancient Rome managed one of the largest empires in history without any of the technology we depend on today? How did they keep track of millions of citizens, their wealth, and their obligations to the state without computers or databases? Today, we will explore the quiet, methodical world of the Roman census, a process that went on quietly behind the scenes but was crucial to the functioning of Rome for centuries. The Roman census was a deliberate counting and categorizing of people, wealth, and property. It was an official headcount that shaped the empire in subtle yet profound ways. Unlike the grand military conquests or magnificent architecture, the census was a bureaucratic tool, designed for stability and order, but filled with endless lists, repetitions, and paperwork. This story is perfect for those who appreciate the slow gears turning inside complex societies, the kind of history that lulls you to sleep as it gently unfolds like a soft, consistent hum. The practice of the census stretches back to the era of the Roman Republic, around the 5th century BCE, and continued well into the imperial era. Conducted roughly every 5 years, it wasn't a census in the modern sense of simply counting heads. Instead, it was an elaborate compilation of data on every Roman male citizen, their families, property, slaves, and social status. This information was collected not only for taxation but to allocate political representation and military responsibilities. In essence, the census was a foundational pillar of Roman civic life and administration. Who conducted the census? The job fell to officials called censors, 2 patrician magistrates who held office for 18 months. These censors were far more than mere accountants. They were guardians of the public morality and order. Beyond tallying numbers, the censors wielded significant power, including the ability to remove citizens from the official rolls for immoral behavior or criminal acts, thereby denying them legal and political rights. Think of the censors as a unique fusion of bureaucrats and moral overseers, ensuring that Rome's citizen body remained both physically and ethically accounted for. The census process itself was lengthy and intricate. It began when Roman citizens were summoned to their respective tribal assembly locations, geographical divisions used for voting and administrative purposes. Men were required to appear before the censors and, under oath, present detailed declarations about their assets. This included specifying land, livestock, slaves, and any other property they possessed. Importantly, the census did not extend to women or non-citizens. It was strictly a record of male citizens who contributed to the republic's political and military life. These declarations were carefully recorded on wax tablets or parchment scrolls, maintained by the census staff. Following collection, the censors reviewed and cross-checked these records for discrepancies or signs of deception. They moved slowly and methodically, leaving nothing to chance. Any attempts to understate property or evade taxes were met with punitive actions, including heavy fines and social disapproval. The census was thus both an exercise in statistical accounting and a tool for upholding fairness and social order in the Republic and later the Empire. One might imagine the process of gathering such detailed information from a vast population as chaotic or rushed, but the Roman census was anything but hastily organized. It could take months to complete a cycle, given the sheer volume of data and the importance of accuracy. This slowness, though unexciting, was an asset, citizens could be confident that the figures recorded truly reflected their status and obligations, reinforcing Rome's reputation for order and discipline. The data gathered during the census had tremendous impact on Roman society and governance. Voting rights, for instance, were directly tied to the census classifications. Roman citizens were divided into classes based on their wealth, and these classes determined how much political influence a male citizen wielded in the assemblies. The wealthier lines held more voting power, while the poorer had less. This hierarchical structure was codified and updated regularly through the census, allowing the Republic to measure and adjust its political framework continuously. Moreover, the census played a key role in military conscription. Rome's armies relied heavily on its citizen soldiers, and the census was the primary method for assessing who was eligible to serve. Those with more wealth were expected to provide better military equipment and sometimes serve in more prestigious roles, while the less wealthy contributed as basic infantry. Additionally, by knowing each citizen's resources, the Republic and Empire could project both manpower and economic capacity for planned campaigns or defensive needs. One of the more surprising aspects of the census was its recording of slaves. Slaves were not counted as citizens, of course, but slave ownership was a significant indicator of wealth. Including slaves in these calculations gave censors a fuller picture of a man's true economic standing. This detail underscores that the census was not just about numbers, but about power in society's complex hierarchies. It encapsulated the realities of a civilization that was as much about property and status as it was about territory and soldiers. On the surface, these bureaucratic details may not seem thrilling. Lists, ledgers, and oaths hardly inspire the same drama as wars or revolutions. But within this slow, steady counting was embedded the story of how Rome maintained control over a vast and diverse population. The census was a quiet, tireless work of governance that influenced laws, politics, military campaigns, and social order for centuries. It is a story of endurance and quiet power, the antithesis of frantic chaos, instead reflecting the triumph of careful administration. Interestingly, the role of the censors extended beyond enumeration. They were responsible for upholding public morality, a unique duty that blended the technical and the ethical. If a citizen was found guilty of certain offenses, such as dishonesty, extravagance, or immoral conduct, he could be removed from the voting rolls, restricting his political rights and social privileges. This function was a reminder that in Rome, citizenship carried responsibilities and standards, not mere privileges. Think of this as a subtle but powerful form of social control embedded in bureaucratic processes. The censors personified this concept, using their authority to shape public behavior quietly but effectively. Their work was crucial in preserving what Romans considered the moral fabric of their society, intervening through paperwork rather than force. Over time, the Roman census evolved but remained a constant for well over half a millennium. Even as the political landscape changed from republic to empire, and as Rome expanded across Europe, Africa, and Asia, the census persisted as a foundational institution. Emperors would occasionally modify or rely on it to levy taxes. Conscript soldiers, or reorganize provincial administration. One of the greatest legacies of the Roman census is that it laid the groundwork for modern population and tax record keeping. The idea of methodically accounting for citizens and their assets lives on in today's governments worldwide. Though the technology has changed dramatically, the basic principles remain much the same: orderly collection, verification, and application of demographic and economic data to inform governance. That said, the census itself was often viewed by citizens as tedious and intimidating. Going before officials to publicly declare every detail of wealth and family could be stressful, and the potential penalties for misreporting kept people cautious. It was not a joyous gathering, but rather a serious civic duty, a testament to Rome's value of discipline and order. The slow pace and repetitive nature of the census, however, creates a very different kind of narrative. It is the story of a society choosing order over chaos, consistency over spontaneity, and methodical diligence over drama. This story's very dullness, in fact, makes it the perfect companion for those seeking calm. Soothing narratives that guide the mind away from excitement and toward rest. If you find the noise of daily life too loud, or your thoughts too busy, the idea of ancient Rome quietly gathering lists of citizens, taking meticulous notes, and steadily working through mountains of data may be just the perfect lullaby. It is a gentle reminder that history is not always about battles and kings, but also about the slow, steady work that holds civilizations together, invisible yet essential. And so, as you imagine the censors sitting patiently in their offices, dipping wax tablets into beeswax, marking the names and possessions of the Republic's citizens, you might start to feel the slow rhythm of these ancient bureaucrats woven into your own thoughts, soft, steady, and methodical. Next time you find yourself counting sheep, perhaps think of the Romans counting their people, not in a rush, but with precision and care, always mindful of the bigger picture, the balance of society, the distribution of power, and the calm order of an empire built on administration. If this quiet journey through the history of the Roman census has brought a sense of calm, please consider subscribing to the channel. Each week, we explore the slow-turning wheels of history's less hectic stories, offering gentle narratives designed to soothe and inform. As you might imagine, the story is just as meticulous, lengthy, and perfect for unwinding. For now, let your thoughts drift to the long lists of names and numbers, the slow declaration of assets under oath, the quiet authority of the Roman censors. Let these details wrap around your mind like a soft blanket, settling your thoughts and easing you gently toward rest. Sweet dreams, and remember, sometimes the slowest stories are the ones that comfort us most.